Welcome to the Evergreen Church Life podcast. The Bible tells us in the book of Philippians that we as believers need to be unified in our mission to know God, share life, and change the world. We've got a lot going on here at Evergreen, and we want to help cultivate that culture of unity. The strategy of this podcast is simple. We sit down with a ministry leader here in our church, and we talk about how God is working around them.
Today we are talking to Zach Dietz, the executive pastor of Creative. Let's get to the conversation. Well, welcome to another episode of the Evergreen Church Life podcast. We are here with Pastor Zach Dietz. He is our executive pastor over Creative. And Zach, we really appreciate you coming on and making the time for us today.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. It's good to see y'all.
So you've listened to the episodes that we've done, released already, and so you kind of know what we're doing. We're taking an exploratory. No, that's not right. Exploratory
an expletive.
That's fine.
This is not.
Say what you want, Philip.
Yeah. My words are not working today. Why am I so bad at this? We're taking an exploratory journey into every ministry, talking to our executives and our lead pastors about their ministries and what's happening in their ministries and how they fit into church life at Evergreen. So, Zach, let's start with why does your role exist, and how does it contribute to the body here at Evergreen?
Yeah, so my specific role as the creative pastor, it exists to keep our creative team moving in the same direction. So before my role existed, all of our staff was kind of creating their own graphics and videos and social media posts, and as you can imagine, they were all over the place. Mm-hmm. No cohesiveness, and branding. All of it was different. So, kind of my role is to kind of hone all that in and bring it together. And now, that we have a team, it's kind of my job to make sure everybody's going in the same direction and toward our mission and vision and values as a church. So
okay, people might hear branding, they might hear logos and social media and all those things, and they might that sounds like a lot of corporate language,
right?
So why is that important for a church for us to communicate consistently? How does that impact life here?
Yeah, I think I think we use a common language as a church, and so but when we don't have somebody kind of directing that language, you can kind of lose track of what we're called to as a church. And Michael kind of sets the vision from the Lord of where we go as a church. And so if we don't have boundaries around that, we can kind of veer off. Each ministry can kind of veer off in their own direction. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important to kind of have some direction and hone everything in to keep it within the lanes of where God's called us as a church. Mm-hmm. And so when we're talking about language, you guys knowing God, sharing life, changing the world. And so we've gotten very, this creative team is very new. I think since
last fall, beginning of last fall, because last summer, AJ and Hannah and I were trying to bring everything under one banner, and that was kind of like we need to hire some people.
Yeah.
Effort.
We joke because Hannah was the creative team before
exactly.
We had a team.
That's Hannah James, for those of you that
Hannah
don't know.
James, yes. And so
coming on future episodes.
Right.
Hannah James.
But wait.
There's more. So it's my job to kind of make sure, like when ministries bring us something, hey, we need a graphic for this. We want to make sure we're communicating, yes, the needs of the ministry, but we also want to make sure that like we are staying in the lanes of who we are as a church and not diverting into something that we're not necessarily called to as a church.
As far as your job now, the church is you've been here for what, 10 years?
12 going on 13.
Yeah, so a while. So you've seen the communication strategy of Evergreen evolve. And I mean, we're going on 27 years old as a church and just now having a creative team. And like a social media team and all that stuff. So what was the change that necessitated that we actually move in that direction versus before? Because there's sometimes you'll have a church of 50, 100 people and they have a social media person or whatever. But why did we get to the size we are now? And it's like, all right, we got to pull this trigger.
Yeah, man, I think this we've had this conversation several times, but I think the cool thing about Evergreen is we have been so heavily focused on teaching the Word of God, so heavily focused on discipleship and things that I don't want to say things that really matter, but things that like are the meat,
the foundational things,
things. And so now it's like, we have like God has gifted us with men and women who are discipling people. And so now we have these stories to tell. And God's given us influence in that area. And so it's like, man, let's use a creative team to tell these stories. Let's use a creative team to give a window into the church of, like, for social media. That's kind of how we view it, is social media is a window into our community where people on the outside looking in can see, man, like God's doing something there. And that's what we want to do with social media, is just show what God is doing in our church. So,
one of the things that they talk about in leadership circles is the concept of, within every organization is really an organism because it involves people. And every organization has a language and they have a culture. And drawing off of the analogy that Scripture gives us of of spiritual warfare, like we were at war with principalities and powers of darkness in heavenly places. It's interesting for us as I apply that mindset. The military has a language that they use in order to communicate clearly when battle is happening. And I think that for those that might be skeptical of social media or communications or having a clear communication strategy, they might think, well, that's not really important to us because, we're the church and we shouldn't be thinking about optics. But really it's about clarity. When we're clear about how we communicate, things have gotten really complicated for us as a team, as a ministry staff, because there's so many people, there's so many ministries. God is working in the lives of people. We have the mindset that people follow people, not programs. So that means that there's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff. And we need to be communicating clearly because we're all in the fight. And we've seen that when there's confusion, that people get hurt and that battle starts going in the wrong direction. And so I think what you do is a really crucial element of spiritual warfare, and that it gives us a consistent voice so that people can stay informed about what's going on at Evergreen, but also how they can stay plugged in and be effective.
Yeah, 'cause we're not talking about just PR. That's not all you guys are doing. It's so much of it's internal.
Yeah, I think just with social media specifically, I think it's a double-edged sword. It's funny because we have a creative pastor who's not on social media, but
it's kind of infuriating, actually.
I know.
It's like, I need you to approve this login.
I know. But it is, I see it. It's also a necessary evil because it is a place to communicate. It is a place to where the people are. So, and we want to meet them there. And so, so I've got a team who are creating social media posts, and they do an excellent job, and they are on social media, so that helps. But and I view the stuff, I kind of, again, my role is just to make sure we're going in the right direction. And so they'll send me the posts, I'm like, yep, love it, So so far I haven't seen one I haven't loved. They do a great job. So
let's talk about internal communication. So if social media is external communication, giving people a window into our life here at Evergreen, how does, and creative is more than just a comms department, because you're not just communicating, it also entails technology and worship and other creative elements of what we do. How does the internal creative aspect, how does that play a role in the life of the church?
With communication, is that what you're asking specifically?
Like with creative. So like your first calling was as a worship pastor. So worship obviously is part of your heartbeat, is part of your DNA in ministry.
Yeah.
And that's a creative art. How does the internal creative piece, not necessarily just comms, but how does the internal creative piece affect our life?
Yeah. So, man, we just had this conversation as a team yesterday, where so much of what we've been doing for the past, how long did you say we've been a team?
It started
7 months, 6-7 months.
Yeah,
in August. Yeah.
So much of that has been trying to gain momentum as a team, because we've been having, it's been not very long that we've had departments as a church. And so, everybody's been kind of funneling their stuff through us, and we're just trying to like get on the right path. And so now that kind of momentum has reached where we need it to be, we have really started to hone in. We had a meeting yesterday about, all right, like we've done some really cool things. Like we've kind of got a system now. Now let's focus on the mission. And so anywhere from worship to our communications, to our graphics, to design, like church design, which plays an element. And I'll talk about that here in a minute, why that matters. But everything we do, we want to focus on our mission as a church. The songs that we're singing, we want to point people to good theology, which is a part of knowing God, what we're singing to him. And so, but the internal communication, like just the emails we're sending, like we want to send things in emails that are going to push people toward Christ. Like how can we encourage our people to go deeper in the word? So everything we're doing creatively, we want to point it towards Jesus ultimately, and toward the mission as a church. So,
with the internal communication, so much of like part of one of the reasons that we started this podcast actually was because we have such a large team, and a lot of the church doesn't know why all of our team members exist and what they're accomplishing and all that. And so part of your transition from being the worship pastor into being over creative and doing helping to make this go in one cohesive direction has actually been to help us internally, to help our staff better communicate, better accomplish the things that we need to get done, because we don't all have to do the work of making my own graphics and posting all of my own stuff anymore, because there's a team that will do it better than me and take that off of my plate. So that's been part of the transition for you guys for the last 6 or 7 months. And so how has that been as our team has expanded? How have you seen the ramifications, like in a positive way, of making our team function better and communicate better and just streamline more? And obviously we have more room to grow in that, but like you said, it's been long enough that we're starting to see the fruit of it.
Yeah, I think it's alleviated some of our ministry leaders from some of those jobs, like where they don't necessarily have time to sit there and create graphics for their ministries, or make a form for an event, or something.
Or like the mass emails we send out that you guys format,
and
make
when you
look better and all that.
Right. And that was a thing. Like we had mass emails going out every day, it seemed like. And when you've got communication coming from every department to the entire church, like the more emails you send, the less people read. And so that has been a positive thing, I think, is like we send out a weekly email and a monthly newsletter. And beyond that, it's like emergency emails, like if, weather or whatever. But I think scaling back and condensing and putting things into one email or whatever, but it's been great. I think it's helped alleviate some of the ministries from having to worry and think through that when they've got other big things they're working on. So,
we've actually kind of already experienced this since your department is new, your office is new, or I mean the position you're in. if your ministry role was to disappear tomorrow, how would that impact life at Evergreen?
Yeah. I think just kind of what we just talked about, I think a lot of that pressure would be put back on individual ministry leaders. And I think most of those ministry leaders would admit that those aren't necessarily their giftings, like making graphics or videos. So if those things were to return to ministry leaders, I think it would no longer be cohesive either. So we're sending different messaging and kind of getting out of alignment, so to speak. And so really, like, it's kind of like just like wheels on a vehicle. I think when you get out of alignment with the vision and the mission, you start feeling the rumbling, and so that's kind of our role, is to keep those wheels in alignment. And I think if this was to disappear, I think you kind of start feeling the rumbling again.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually one of the things that kind of inspired Matt and I to do this podcast, is that it's a regular occurrence that people ask us, about things because they have a hard time tracking all of the stuff that's going on and staying informed. And there's so much happening. I mean, even in my life, I mean, my wife will ask me, "Hey, what about this event going on? What are the details about this?" And I'm like, "Baby, I have no idea.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, not my monkey, not my circus." And not to say that the things aren't everything's not important, but it's like there's so much to wrap your head around. And our church members and the staff even are getting we're getting bombarded with messages, and it's hard to stay informed when there's so much going on. And so we have to be strategic about that, which is one of the reasons why we're having this conversation in the first place, is for people to be able to know, like, oh, that's what that person does, and that's how they fit into the ecosystem of our organization and what that looks like for the church. That if, like, oh, that's right, the what do they say, that wars are won and lost by logistics, but communication, like that's one of the primary strategies of an enemy, is if I can knock out my enemy's communications, then I can cause all kinds of confusion, and then it's going to give me an advantage. And I think what you do is critically important for our life here at Evergreen, because it allows us to be moving in the same direction. I love the analogy of keeping the bus in alignment, the Magic School Bus in alignment.
Got to keep the Magic School
keep in
Bus's
theme here.
wheels.
Got to remember.
The wheels on the
Miss
bus
Frizzle.
shouldn't rumble.
That's right.
They should.
They would like to go
round and round.
All right, there you go.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, it's like you gotta. We started the joke. You got to go all the way. With
Yeah.
it. Yeah. You got to finish it.
Well, to play off your point a little bit, Philip, like when I was worship pastor, I think a lot of people, I love that you guys are doing this podcast, because a lot of people, I don't think, understand, like, does the worship pastor just sing on Sunday and that's it? Well, there's a lot of administrative work that goes into being a worship pastor. There is a lot of one-on-one meetings. There's a lot of, like, a lot of people don't know this, but like, I would use some days to just write songs for our church, so that the songs that we're putting on the lips of our people are good theology, because there's so much bad out there. And so I think, like, I love that you guys are kind of giving an inside look to what's actually happening, because some of these roles are super important. And, if we didn't have them, we'd be up a creek.
How has the shift in role been for you over the last less than a year? Because you were 11 years as the worship pastor? Or?
Yeah, I think 11 and a half.
Yeah.
So, man, it's been great. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't feel like the Lord was in it. So, I think, this position got brought up in a conversation I was having with AJ, and I had kind of felt like sense that God was kind of shifting something in my heart. And he brought that up, and I was like, creative pastor, like, man, that sounds awesome. And I told him right then, I was like, hey, I think I'd be interested in that. Then the next day I was like, hey, I haven't prayed about that. Like, just disregard that comment. So I gave it a couple months and had been praying about it. And I was like, is that still a thing? And so he's like, yeah. And I was like, man, I really think, like, I would love that. And he's like, let's go talk to Michael. And so had a conversation with Michael, and he was like, I love it. I think that's a great idea. And people ask me all the time, do you miss worship ministry? And honestly, I don't. Like, I love it. And I do. There are elements I miss. And like Joe our worship pastor has been gracious enough to I'm leading worship this month sometime. So I'll fill in occasionally. But I've really enjoyed kind of being in the background. That's been kind of a nice change of pace. And so, but it's been awesome. Yeah.
You just touched on something that I don't think we've mentioned on here yet. One of the things that I appreciate about Michael is our philosophy at Evergreen has been that if God calls you to do something, the role of a leader is to provide resources and to remove obstacles. Those are the two primary jobs of a leader. And Michael has this mindset when it comes to everyone in the church, not just the staff, that if God calls you to do something, I'm going to do everything that I can to equip you to do that thing, to equip you for obedience. And there are a number of people on our team that are not in the original role that they were hired to do. And it's because instead of thinking about, this is a practical function that needs to work in the church, I'm going to find someone to plug that hole. Michael doesn't hire people that way. Our elders don't choose people to come on staff or put them forward for ministry with that mindset. It's not about just doing a job. It's about hiring a certain kind of person.
Speaking of elders,
yes, I am an elder now.
Sorry,
but I think that's really critically important because it speaks to one of the aspects of our church life, our culture, that is critically important to how God has been using us, in that it's not about the job, it's about who you are as a person. And we tend to get wrapped up in what the job is, whether that's how I am supposed to work in the church as a layperson or on the staff. It's about obedience. It's about abiding. And, we forget that the gifts of the Spirit, they are the gifts of the Spirit. They're not my gifts. They're not my special superpower. And just like God can give them, He can take them, and He can give us a different gifting, and He can deploy us in different ways. And we have to be, we've got to be pliable. We've got to be open to His leading. And I love that you had the humility to say, like, hey, you know what? I think that I need to be in a different seat on the bus. It's not about me being in front of people and being on the stage. I think God's calling me in this direction. And that opens up a spot for somebody else like Joe to come in and be able to use his gifts. And now God's using you in incredibly new ways. And for those that are listening, it's important for us, even from the layperson all the way up to the senior pastor level, is that we have to remember that we're under shepherds, and our responsibility is to be open and obedient to whatever God calls us to do. And that means that our job may not always look the way that we think that it looks, or the way that we feel comfortable in. And the Lord's going to use whatever task that we're doing for the purpose of keeping us close to Him. And it's not about maintaining just the system or just keeping the things going. It's about being in a relationship with the Lord and trusting Him in the process.
Yeah, our spiritual gifts aren't stagnant. And that's something that I think you've been in the role long enough to see that it's shifted. Like if our maturity and our sanctification aren't stagnant and they grow, why also wouldn't our spiritual giftedness grow? It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you've lost the ability to lead worship, like it was like a skill that you've lost or something, but there's other areas in your life that the Lord has matured. And so because those other areas have matured, it's like, hey, now I have a different role for you.
And I've had to grow into this role too.
Yeah.
There are things that I was not necessarily gifted at that I've had to grow in. And so, but I just realized as you were talking that we have a lot of bus language around here. we have the magic school bus, and then Michael uses bus language talking about getting people on the bus.
Avoiding buses. Yeah. In Michael's episode, we talked about him getting hit by a bus.
Yeah, which is hilarious because we refused to buy a bus.
It's so true.
For buses are expensive.
Yeah,
and require all kinds of logistics to make them work.
Sorry, to divert.
We took a rabbit trail there.
Yep.
So Zach, what would most people, so they look at your job and think, okay, he's the creative pastor. He is in charge of our creative team, worship, technology, email, social media, and stuff. What do most people not know about your role, or what would be something that is a particular challenge that people may not realize?
Well, I think when you hear my title, creative pastor, people assume that I play with crayons every day.
That was my assumption.
Yeah, I know. When I get up on stage and make announcements, I hate saying I'm the creative pastor because everybody's like, "What?"
You help organize the crayons in the preschool ministry.
That's what I do.
You're crucial family
Pastor
life.
over creative arts.
He's in charge of all of the crafts. For preschool.
But I think what probably most people don't realize is how administrative this role is. So I've had to become this is one of those skills I was talking about. I'm not very organized. I'm very ADHD. And so I've had to become organized. And so I've got Excel spreadsheets. I've got I've got a little marker board on my desk that I make daily notes that I've got tasks that I've got to get done. And so, and I think something else, like I'm currently overseeing our media team as well. So a lot of those, because of that role, overseeing our media team,
which is the guys in the soundboard.
Yeah, like our Sunday morning media team, running sound, lights, video, that kind of thing. What I think a lot of people don't know about that role is just how many events we have throughout the week. We have a lot of outside groups that use our church, homeschool, co-ops. We've got weddings, all the things. And so a lot of those events need a tech person throughout the week. And so right now I'm trying to wrap my head around how to balance, and it's really it shouldn't be a balance, but family and ministry. And so like what I'm getting to a point where it's like, all right, I've got all these events that need a tech person. And so right now I'm organizing, hey, we're going to split this up among our creative team and delegate some of these events. So I'm not the one here every day of the week. And so again, it's like, I'm not used to having to be organized. And I know this is one of the reasons God has me in this role is to learn some skills that I didn't have. I know Philip's a very, very organized and very
administrative person.
Yes. Which I love about you, and Scott Meeks is the same way. And I've learned from Scott a lot. And so, but yeah, I've actually, believe it or not, I used to hate, like when I was worship pastor, I hated doing planning center. Like that was the administrative part and I hated it. But now like I'm enjoying like making my spreadsheets and like checking things off my
list. You gotta
list.
be careful. You're gonna get bit by the administrative bug.
Oh man. So
everything in its place.
Never thought I would be saying those words, but I've actually enjoyed it. So, but I think that's probably something people don't know about this role.
Yeah. So what about, our motto, if you will, our catchphrase is to know God, share life, and change the world. How do those elements, how are they impacted by helping us understand what they are? Like how does your job contribute to our pursuit in those things?
So, just some practical things that we do as a team, like, we, as a church, we have a monthly Bible verse that we memorize. And our creative team, we make these cards. They're like really nice printed off cards that have the Bible verse. And on the back, there is a people group that we pray for monthly. And so like, just like in a very practical sense, like we print out those cards, we design those cards so that our people can memorize scripture, so that our people can pray for a people group. And like that element is, something like that would be knowing God. So the creative team kind of helps in some of those areas where we need print offs or whatever. But just like an element of knowing God. And I tell my media team, like our slogan, if you will, as a team is like putting Jesus on display. Because it can be really easy to be on the media team and just push buttons and feel like you're not really accomplishing anything. But if our goal is ultimately to put Jesus on display, put the gospel on display, like we have, like with our YouTube presence and our live streaming, like there's a pretty big reach there. And so, like that's part of changing the world, and then sharing life. I think one of the elements that, and I think you and I will be working on this together a little bit, but is I'm pointing at Matt. Sorry, this is not a video podcast.
Yeah. No one can see you right now.
Yeah, but just like designing spaces in our church that foster discipleship, like our coffee shop, and we haven't delved into that much as a creative team, but that's one of the things on our agenda is to design spaces that like people want to come to have one-on-ones, and that's sharing life, where moms can come and have community together and let their kids play and drink coffee or whatever. But as far as the creative team and how we impact that is there's lots and lots of things. These are just a few examples of knowing God, sharing life, changing the world. But yeah, we want to be really intentional with all those things that we're doing. So
yeah. Our building, like you're saying, it's used a ton, and it seems like the next phase of our direction with some of this stuff is not just that it's utilitarian, that it's like useful and gets used a lot, but also that it's the next phase, I think, is to make it comfortable and inviting to where people can, in one sitting, know God, share life, change the world, and make that feel comfortable and a natural place for that to happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. Well, how can you transition to a new position with a new team and a bunch of new employees under you? Just looking to the future as we're wrapping up this school year and going into the next school year, where it'll be like your second one, the systems are in place and all that. How can we be praying for you and your role and your team in the coming year?
Yeah, I mean, I think for my team, I think just that, some of these guys on our team are brand new to Evergreen. Yeah. And so that their families would get plugged in and feel at home, and that we continue to be connected as a team and unified and vision and all that. And for me personally, just for my family, I guess, I think 2 years ago, several of us as a staff went to Watermark Church for their CLC conference, and they gave away these little wooden things that had a slit in it, and you were to put a picture of your family in it. And on that wooden thing, it said, "How's your ministry?" And it was a reminder that family is your first ministry. And so I never want to get so consumed in my work that I neglect my family. And because it's easy, I love my work, and I would hope that you guys do too. But it's like, but I want to love my family way more than I love my work. And not just love them, but like discipling my kids and leading my wife well. So just I think pray for my family. So
I think that's true for all of us that are on staff. Is like you mentioned, the events. I mean, it's hard for folks to see past their event and to understand that the toll that takes on the team to run a soundboard it's more than just turning the lights on and hitting some buttons. There's some logistics that go into it and planning, and someone has to be here, and all those things happen after hours when you're here all day, and then you have an event every night of the week. And then you also have kids who have sporting events, and you got family time and game nights and family dinner and those kinds of things that you can't be present for. That takes a toll on a person, especially when it says in Scripture that the primary metric to see if someone is worthy of the call to ministry is how they lead their family. There are so many people who get into ministry and they've been faithful leading their family, only to leave their family behind, and they compromise their ministry. So we'll be praying for you, Zach, and everything that you have going on in the creative department. We appreciate you and keeping us all going in the same direction, keeping the wheels tight on the bus.
Yeah.
So appreciate you being here. Here at the Evergreen Church Life podcast, we exist to empower our congregation to make a tangible difference in our local context, moving beyond just attending and truly knowing God, sharing life, and changing the world. We want everyone to see the richness of the body of Christ and how He's working around us through the ministries of Evergreen. If you want to know more about Evergreen, please visit our website at evergreenbc.org.